AITA for dumping my fiancé and stopping her student loan payments after she lied to her friend? They are both in their early 30s. I am 27. I am the guy with the mortgage, the router password, and an emotional range of fine until it's not. I work in tech from home. I bought my house before we started dating. Sienna and I started out solid. 5 years. Good chemistry, smart, funny. She could crush a trivia night and roast me so well the table would shake. We settled into routines that made sense. I handled the big life expenses. She handled things like planning friends' birthdays and convincing me to eat a vegetable that was not in fried form. She worked across town, making what I will politely call a salary. That is not a dig, it is just a fact. The commute was rough, so I bought her a car. Hold your applause. It was not a show-off car. It was a 2015 Nissan Versa, which is basically a Scion wheels. She rear-ended 2 people, twice. The bumper was more of a suggestion after the second hit. I kept it running because that is what I do. I fix problems until I realize I am one. We did the holidays, the weekends, the supermarket dance. Then I proposed. I kept it simple. Her favorite takeout, the house clean. Me in a decent shirt without a team logo. She said yes. She took a stack of selfies with the ring like the algorithm was going to give her a medal. I felt like a guy who had finally saved up enough to do it right. I was not trying to be flashy. Enter Cameron, the lifelong best friend. 10 years of history. Too handsome for his own good. That jawline could cut packing tape. He had a girlfriend when I met him, so I did not go on high alert. I am not the guy who bans opposite-sex friendships. She said he had confessed to catching feelings once, and she shut it down. Sure. And I only installed Steam for the library interface. I am not paranoid. I know how to read patterns. When routines break, I check the logs before feelings. It avoids arguments and keeps the lawyers bored. Their history was intense. They got their World of Warcraft characters married and ran around with matching in-game transmogs. Cute at 19, complicated at 30. He was the guy who was always there for her during fights with exes. The texts had that layered tone. The haha that means save me, and the best friend label doing way too much heavy lifting. 3 weeks after the proposal, we were building the guest list. I offered to pay for Cameron's flight because he lives out of state now. In retrospect, I was naive and trying way too hard for someone who thought I was just the backup plan. She always called him family. I thought, great, let's make the circle bigger, shake hands, move on. She cut me off and said it should be just family, which is basically what I had just said. But okay, I pushed gently. She got annoyed, and then she dropped it casually. Like she was commenting on the weather, she told me she had not told Cameron we were engaged. Not that she forgot, not that she was waiting to tell him in person, she just did not. That landed wrong. I asked why she was giving me the silent treatment. She said it was private, which was weird for a life event she had blasted to group chats the night it happened. I backed off. I tried again later. Same wall. The wall felt like it had a name and a gym membership. Meanwhile, Cameron moved and broke up with his girlfriend. The exact week he became single, Sienna's phone practically fused to her hand. She took it to the bathroom like it was a medical device. New behavioral notes. Phone angled away. Vibrate on silent, but it was doing Morse code on the table. The lock screen became minimalist grayscale, and her notifications were now banner only. She started prefacing 1 out of every 2 sentences with, Cameron said. She smiled at her screen like he told a good joke. I have eyes. I can do math. One night, I was minding my own business, building Rivendell out of Lego like an adult with healthy coping mechanisms, and she was locked in the bedroom working. The kitchen Bluetooth speaker, the one that auto-pairs to the last connected device, sputtered and clicked on like it was possessed. Suddenly, I heard her voice, then his. She said, if I have to hear about his stupid little plastic dolls one more time, I'm going to scream. And this clown, Cameron, said back, he's overcompensating. You know that, right? That was when I realized my life had become a live podcast about my own relationship's implosion, hosted by Bluetooth. I did not say a word, just listened to them build fantasy scenarios without me. That was the moment I stopped wondering if I was imagining it and started treating it as a fact. That speaker did not betray her. It betrayed me for waiting. Technology is honest by default. People add the lies after. Now for the research. I am the default network admin of the house because I am the only one who knows the difference between 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. Months back, I set up a cheap iPad for recipes and YouTube while we cooked. Sienna wanted to use a paid recipe app, so we logged in with her Apple ID to access the purchases. When you log into an Apple ID, it very helpfully tries to weave your devices together. That day, she enabled text message forwarding from her phone to the iPad, then forgot about it. Why would you? Why would anyone remember that when you were just trying to find the recipe for banana bread? The iPad notifications were off because background noise while you were sautéing does not need pop-ups. After the engagement, while I was updating apps, the banners toggled on. I did not notice. A week later, I was dicing onions. The iPad was propped up, and a banner slid down. Cameron, you up? Timestamp. 1:14 a.m. I did not open it. I did not even touch the screen. I watched 3 more banners roll in over the next minute. Nothing explicit, nothing concrete, but the tone was 2 a.m. energy, not we share memes like siblings energy. I treated each banner like a timestamp, not a smoking gun. Courts love timelines. So do depositions in HR departments. I filed it under watch list and moved on with my life. I was planning venue visits for our supposed marriage. I went into the shared calendar to see if we could stack errands. Nothing was scheduled the weekend after I proposed, which is funny because she spent that entire weekend smiling at her phone like she had found God. Then I checked the photos on the iPad because she asked me for help fixing the lighting on the ring pics. They were in her iCloud library. I swiped up on a photo to see the metadata. I saw 11 shots of her hand that she took that night, 0 shares. She did not send those pictures to anyone, at least not via iMessage. Meanwhile, she shared brunch, gym mirror, and cat content with 5 separate people. Not a single ring picture went to Cameron. 0 mention of fiancé or engaged. The ring emoji. Nothing in any visible preview. But I did see texts like, I feel so trapped. You're the only one who gets me. I hate when he acts like this. That is not friend talk. That is her soft launching her exit. Still, I stayed quiet because I did not want to blow up my life if this was a bad read. Then grief does its thing. Grief does that. My dad passed away 6 months earlier. Sienna was cold. I did not expect special treatment, but she was borderline absent. I wrote it off again. Bad call. The crack became a canyon the night we revisited the guest list. I said Cameron could come. She repeated, just family. She played the privacy card like it was a royal flush. I told her there was a line between privacy and keeping a guy in orbit. She put on her cold face. The words came out of me like a boring prophecy. If you can't be honest about him, maybe we shouldn't get married. She looked at me, unlocked her phone, typed something, angling it so I could see, and sent Cameron, hey, just so you know, I was engaged, but not anymore. Send. She put the phone down like she had just sunk a game-winning shot. That was the neon sign moment. She was not confused. She was not lost. She was not unready. She picked a team, and it was not ours. So I got her bags. I told her to pack. She went through all the stages, crying, anger, you're controlling, and weaponized confusion. I slid the suitcase toward the door and stayed silent. She left. After the guest list stunt, she launched a full comeback tour. Text blew up. Then she called my mom. My mom told me I was being ridiculous, which earned her a block. That relationship was already on life support. She pulled the plug herself. I was not taking plays from the bleachers from people who would not dare run the ball. Then came Sienna's favorite formation, the emotional misdirection. She FaceTimed me from her car. Soft light, reasonable voice mode. It wasn't like that, she said. I was just texting Cameron. We weren't engaged because you pushed me into a corner. You kept pushing. Don't you trust me? I panicked. There it was. Not an apology, a root cause. I did not argue. I have learned you do not wrestle with an eel. You put it in a clear tank. Okay, I said. I own my tone. You own your actions. You want a second chance? You've got 30 days. The guardrails were boring and non-negotiable. I wrote them out like a city ordinance. 0 contact in writing. She emails Cameron, I'm engaged. No more personal contact. Block me. CC me and the counselor's office admin. No poems, just the sentence. Prenup consultation on the calendar. If the word partnership is going to mean anything, it gets paperwork. She nodded, cried, hugged the air, and said I was being so mature. I put a calendar invite titled Trust Probation because branding matters. It lasted 72 hours. 3 days taught me more than 3 years. If someone cannot follow simple rules, the complex ones will always crush them. 2 weeks later, she forgot to check in from the counselor's lobby, then posted a story from a rooftop that just so happened to be on the same block as Cameron's building. I know the area. The reflection in the window showed his IKEA lamp. She tried to spin the narrative. You're overreacting. You're controlling. You've gotten so insecure. I thought you said you'd try. I had tried. I gave her a lane in writing, and she turned it into an off-ramp to Cameron's block. My mom did not just call. She auditioned for Team Sienna. Stop being so insecure. You're going to throw away a great woman like Sienna. And the kicker, you should thank God she even agreed to marry you. Great pep talk, coach. I did think something. Well, the block button. The family council was dissolved for conflict of interest. This was my last boundary, but I wanted the whole truth because at that point, I was scared of losing the woman I thought was the love of my life. I asked her to coffee to talk about saving us. I wanted clean access to the data, and I wanted the ring back. We sat down. I asked to see her texts with Cameron. She said she deleted them. I asked to see the phone anyway. She did the mascara marathon with a sympathetic waitress asking if she was okay. After 20 minutes, she handed over the phone. No inappropriate pictures. No, let's meet up. Instead, there was a wall of commentary about me. My hobbies, clown video games, wrestling. Not, I wish he balanced his time. No, he's not a real man. Cameron chimed in with the kind of takes people post when they are looking for likes from guys named Alpha Wolf 92. The one that stood out was him asking how a grown man plays girl games. She also told him I was not performing in bed lately, like she was writing a bad Yelp review, with no mention of why. She called me a sure thing. She wrote that she felt trapped. She said, Cameron's the only one who gets me. That tells the whole story. You do not marry someone you call a safety net. I put the phone on the table. She tried the he's like my therapist line. Therapists have licenses and boundaries. Her next argument was, and you don't complain about me to your friends. I said, no, because I didn't. She lost her cool. I did not raise my voice. I asked for the ring. She hesitated, then handed it over. I said, delete my number. I called her mom to come get her things. Her mom hugged me and said, you'd always be welcome in our home. That one sentence felt more like family than anything my actual family had said in a long time. I took 2 weeks off work and purged the house. I left the keys to the Versa on the counter and looked up donation options because while I paid for it, her mom was right. Sienna could not afford the upkeep, and it was not my job to play sponsor. I put the ring in a safe deposit box. I opened up notes and started dialing numbers like I was uninstalling an app that had been draining my battery for a year. First, the venue. The coordinator got that I'm so sorry voice that sounds like a voicemail greeting and told me the deposit was non-refundable. Fine. I had paid it. I asked for a written cancellation letter. I asked for the exact text they would use if someone called asking about a date that no longer existed. Per client request, the booking has been canceled. Perfect. No public drama, just a clean line. Florist, DJ, suit shop, photographer who promised cinematic candidates. I unsubscribed from the shared fantasy like it was a newsletter I never meant to sign up for. Every vendor had the same script. We're sorry. Not as sorry as me, but at least they gave me confirmation numbers and timelines for partial refunds. I screenshotted everything, named the folder, we're done, and moved on. Then the expensive ring. Insured, appraised, and in my state, it is a conditional gift. Translation for the back row, no wedding, no gift. I had the policy printed out, highlighted like a high school folder with sticky notes everywhere. I asked for it back in the kitchen. She tried the teary-eyed thing. Then she escalated to cartoon law. Suddenly we were practically married because we'd picked out napkin colors and she'd posted 3 future Mrs. selfies. She said the ring was hers by common law, which apparently gets activated after 2 Pinterest boards and 1 charcuterie board. Also, I owed her more for lost time, half the vendor refunds, the car I bought, moving costs, and an inconvenience fee. She literally said I should be thanking her for agreeing to marry me. A bold claim from someone who texted another man that I did not exist. I did not raise my voice. I slid the folder across the counter like a laminated menu. Appraisal. Insurance. A 1-sheet on conditional gifts in this state with the relevant statute highlighted like a runway. No marriage, no gift. Receipts for every deposit with my name on the payer line. Title and insurance for the car in my name. Registry takedown confirmations. Storage unit inventory with a signature line waiting for ink. She tried the lawyer threat and dropped the name of a cousin who's basically pre-law. Cute. I handed her a copy of her own handwriting from the relationship audit, where she admitted she told Cameron she was not engaged and hid conversations after the proposal. Take this to your lawyer, I said. It saves billable hours. She stared at the yellow highlights like they were radiation. She did the huff and stomp combo and dropped a "you're petty" monologue that was probably a hit on the drive home. I pointed to the safe deposit box key and the freshly printed cancellation letters. The refunds went back to the purchasers. The car was off my insurance. We did not need a judge. We needed reading comprehension. One pipe left to shut off. I had been paying her private student loan. My auto debit, my bank, my credit score. I set it up when I thought forever was a real word. I canceled the auto debit the same afternoon I canceled the wedding. That is what I do when you pretend I do not exist. I called the lender, sat through the whole music, and gave them the one sentence I owed them. Remove my payment method and send written confirmation. The agent tried to talk to me like I was breaking up with them. I repeated the sentence. 30 seconds later, it was done. Then I called my bank to kill the card token in case the lender got creative. The fraud specialist said, "Good move," in the same tone lifeguards use when someone stops running by the pool. I sent Sienna a single text. Your auto debit is canceled. I was not punishing her. I was removing unauthorized access. If your name is not on the obligation, your card should not be either. It landed. My phone lit up like a sale price fire alarm. First volley. I am a thief for stealing the ring, which she claimed was an alimony advance. Then I am greedy for canceling vendors and keeping all the money, because apparently refunds going back to the purchasers now meant my pocket. She declared, "We are common law married since we picked napkin colors and shared a Netflix profile. So you owe me fiancé support, and you need to keep paying my student debt like a real man." She itemized a bill, half the vendor refunds, the car, moving, nails, hair, gas, emotional interest, and a $500 inconvenience fee. She literally typed, "Legally, you have 24 hours to return my ring, or that's a felony." My lawyer is my cousin, who is basically pre-law. I did not bite. One line back. Conditional gift. Refunds to purchasers. Auto debit is ended. Handle your accounts. She cranked the ignorance to turbo. She said she would call my bank to reverse the ring. She would report my number to collections and file for defamation in federal court if I did not pay her loans by Friday. She threw in "my mom says you're insecure," like it was a statute. Then came the all-caps thunder. "You owe me for my time. Go be with Cameron, your broke best friend. Let him Venmo you your rent and your reality, because my wallet is not your emergency exit." Immediate detonation. "We can talk about this. You're being dramatic. You're punishing me." Followed by, "Give me the ring or I will make this ugly." Plus a demand for a fiancé back pay. Cute story. I put the phone down, took out the trash, and did the adulting double check. I came back and added a new block. If anything matters, it can show up through an adult channel, email, or her mom, the only fact checker on that side. A week later, Sienna moved in with Cameron, and their feed became a Pinterest vision board. Sun-drenched kitchens, matching mugs, a plant that would be dead in 6 days. Captions like, "Now it all makes sense," and "When you choose happiness." People liked, people commented, people wrote, "So happy for you too." I did not respond. They posted enough for me to place every staged corner of their apartment. The couch pretending to be leather, the undersized rug, the TV mounted so high it should have had a safety harness. I went back to my life like a guy who finally stopped driving with the parking brake on. Sleep like it was a job. Protein like it was fuel. Gym numbers up, inflammation down. I fixed the guest bathroom drip, rerouted 2 subscriptions I did not need, and moved my bleeding for the engagement budget into maintenance and investments. I updated beneficiaries, checked the safe, and changed the garage door code because you can never be too careful. I started dating again, quietly. Coffees, hikes, a museum once. No hand-holding pictures, no cryptic new chapter quotes. If I smiled, it was because something was actually funny, not because a camera was asking me to perform. Acquaintances tried. A buddy sent me a screenshot of Sienna's latest. "You good?" I sent back a thumbs up emoji and then called him like a human and said, "Don't be weird." He laughed. "We're lifting Friday." Men handle feelings like a hardware store transaction. Short sentences, lots of tools. For months passed, and she reappeared. Of course, it was because rent came due more than once for them. I know that calendar rhythm in my bones. She showed up at my door wearing an expression like a freeze frame from a financial seminar. Makeup worn down by humidity and panic, her hair doing a mood. She was holding a tote bag with loose mail and the posture of someone who just learned loving is not a personality trait. It is a bill. "Can we talk?" she said on the porch. "Here," I said. She walked in anyway. I let it go because I have fought bigger battles than threshold semantics. She started with the script people use when they are about to confess, but want a discount. I know I messed up. Cameron's not who I thought. He wanted me to split everything. Rent, utilities, food. We're partners. Partners split costs, I said. Her eyes glazed over. I'm behind. The loan, the card, car insurance, the phone had all piled up. He told me to leave when I told him I needed time. I don't have time. I need help. Call your bank. I did, she said. They put me on a plan that's still too high. I can't make it. I thought maybe you could help me get back on my feet for a month or two. She looked around my kitchen like the walls were going to vote. She pulled out envelopes, red letters, interest compounding like it was proud of itself. A notice with the word final trying to disguise itself as a suggestion. She said the quiet part out loud for extra credit. He never saw me as a partner. He just wanted, benefits. I know, I said. She nodded like it hurt. I made a mistake. You made a choice, I said. Then the mask dropped completely. Let's get back together, she said, waving the mail like confetti. We're good together. Let's pretend that fight never happened. I'll move my stuff back tonight. The entitlement was doing squats. Hard pass. This is not a time machine. It is a mortgage. Begging does not reset the books. Life is not store credit. When you break the device, the warranty rules apply. Misuse voids the coverage entirely. She started crying. Not persuasive, just loud. I made her tea because I am not a cartoon and because hot water is the only thing on earth that forces people to pause. Can we just pick up where we left off? She asked. We were good. We had plans. I'm sorry I didn't handle it right. I was confused. You were bored, I said. Confused people ask questions. Bored people start new games. I did not cheat on you, she said, almost defiant. You recruited, I said. And you mocked me, and you kept a safety net while you tested a new trapeze. You did not fall. You just found out the net came with a bill. She went quiet and tried nostalgia. I was not buying. I am sorry. Then, not sorry now. She put a hand on my counter like she needed a prop. You're overreacting. Give me the key. I can come back like nothing happened. No, I said. Rage is loud. This is quiet. I do not owe you anything. Not comfort, not a bailout, not second chances. You chose. Live with it. Stop begging. You are not my problem anymore. She flinched like I had thrown something. I had not. That is the part that always surprises people, how heavy a quiet sentence can be. The door opened behind me. No drama, just timing. It was Avery, the woman I had been quietly dating. She walked in with a bag of takeout and a raised eyebrow that could file taxes. Sienna registered her, and the narcissism cracked into fury. So you replaced me with a homewrecker, she snapped at Avery. You're pathetic. You stole my man. Avery blinked once. You left your man, she said, flat as a level. Sienna took a step like she was going to test her luck. A serious situation unfolded. I got between them and pointed at the door. Out. She became aggressive, and a wild slap grazed my forearm. That was when I stopped being a host and started being a citizen. I stepped back, pulled out my phone, and dialed 911. Trespassing and attempted assault at my residence. She froze, then unleashed a string of insults that sounded like rejected passwords. I opened the door and waited. She paced the porch, called me a thief again, threatened charges, and told Avery to watch her back. Avery stood there like a statue that lifts weights. A squad car pulled up in 7 minutes. I gave facts, not feelings. She got the lecture on criminal trespass and why coming back here was a bad plan. The officer asked if I wanted to press charges. I said I wanted it on record and a paper trail. A report was filed. She left, wrapped in that silence that follows losing the script. She was still barking on the porch about how I stole her life and Avery ruined a family. Reality check. There was no family, just a rented fantasy with late notices. I did not debate. I watched the body cam blink and let her understand that the audience was not clapping. Consequences are bigger than captions. Done. I checked the last of the auto-debit circuits to make sure nothing phantom billed me. I deleted a recurring Venmo request that looked like a subscription. I cleaned my cloud storage of old photos. Not out of spite, but because clutter is an unpaid tax. I used the wedding budget to fix the roof flashing, replace a dying dishwasher, and prepay the property tax discount. The rest I put in an index fund and on a trip I had put off because I was saving for the event. The event is me, living without a migraine. I blocked unknown numbers. I set my voicemail to the generic robot because personality invites negotiation. I told 2 mutual acquaintances that anything about me and Sienna goes straight in the trash. They nodded in that silent guy way that is basically a handshake. I left the ring where it was. Pawn shops treat diamonds like aquarium gravel. I will reset it later, sell it later, or leave it there forever as proof that I once tried in a way that cost me. Either way, it does not need to circulate like a currency. I trained. I ate like a grown-up. My sleep schedule became legal. I answered emails on time. I fixed the squeak in the laundry room door and finally hung the pull-up bar I kept tripping over. It is petty to say, but my groceries lasted the right amount of time with only one person eating them. Accounting and appetite stopped fighting. I dated again at the speed of I like my peace. Coffee, hikes, conversations about real things at normal volumes. If a date asked about my previous relationship, I gave the 2-sentence version and moved on. We were engaged. It ended over boundaries. If someone wanted drama, I was the wrong channel. Acquaintances and mythical acquaintances tried to stir the pot. One DM'd me. Sienna's struggling, bro. Be the bigger person. I replied, bigger person isn't the same as bigger wallet. He said, you've changed. I told him that was the point. Cameron did not reach out. Of course he did not. 2 weeks later, a collections number called me. I answered for sport. Are you the contact for Sienna's last name? The voice asked. No, I said. Remove my number. Do not call again. Do you know how to contact her? Yes, I said. And I won't be. Goodbye. If they called again, I was ready with the letter I had pre-written. Certified mail. Return receipt. Legal citations. Boring. Effective revenge, shaped like a PDF. They did not call again. Gravity works if you let it. For months, 1 doorstep, 0 bailouts. A week after the porch conversation, she tried an email. Subject, please. Body, a recap of the door scene with edits. She wrote, I know you hated my friendship with Cameron, like it was a minor creative disagreement over wall color. She asked for a loan, promised a schedule, and said she'd do anything. I replied with one line, do anything for you. And I archived it. This was not revenge, it was a system update. The old version of me spent energy proving I was reliable by catching people who liked to jump. The new version lets jumpers feel the ground. Call it harsh. I call it accurate. I am not a villain for refusing to sponsor the consequences of her choices. I am just not her emergency contact anymore. The house stayed quiet. I moved the couch to a better angle because the engagement had been a slow thief of good viewing angles. I set the thermostat to a temperature that does not start arguments. My calendar stopped watching me. I did not check her socials because you do not need to tour a shipwreck to know it is a shipwreck. I took the trip I was going to postpone. I used points like a wizard and ate meals that did not come with negotiations. I came home and my plants were still alive, which felt like a small cosmic joke after watching an entire fake relationship wither under rent. If you are waiting for Cameron to text me or show up, you want TV, not life. He faded to background noise. He will either become a better man or he will rerun the same season with another co-star. Not my season. Sienna's mom texted me a month after the porch. Are you okay? I said I was. Comment. What I hope you take away from this is the profound power of choosing your own peace. Setting a boundary is not an act of aggression. It is a declaration of self-respect. You can be a kind person and still say no to things that harm your spirit. We cannot carry the weight of other people's choices, but we are fully responsible for our own healing. That healing often looks less like a dramatic confrontation and more like quiet, consistent work on yourself. It is about fixing your own roof, tending your own garden, and finding joy in your own space again. Sometimes the strongest move is not to engage, but to simply let gravity do its work. Remember that your value is not a topic for negotiation. I hope you always find the courage to protect your peace with both grace and resolve. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.